By my math, it is a Friday. And I've had a topic that I wanted to talk about because it keeps popping up over and over again. And it's actually kind of unusual in that sense. I did a video that I put up several years ago. And the video is entitled, "Can You Say No When Asked to Tell the Truth in Court?" And of course, the short answer is no, you can't. I could have just said, no, you can't, and ended the video. But I knew if I did that, people would be upset. And plus, I don't do a lot of shorts. So I explained why it is that you can't just say no. And what we're talking about is if you're called as a witness, the typical process, and this is in American courts, U.S. courts, the typical process is that you'd be served with a subpoena. And the subpoena would say right on it that this is an order of the court. You'd have a court seal on it, possibly the seal of the state you're in, and it'll say on it, and it'll have your name, address, and all that information. You are commanded or ordered to appear at this court at this time, and there'll be a case caption on it to indicate to you what the case is all about. So you can look at the case caption and go, oh, it's a lawsuit. I'm being called to testify about a lawsuit. Or it's a criminal case, the people of the state of, the people of the city of, versus so-and-so. That's a criminal case. You're being called to testify about a criminal case. And generally speaking, people aren't surprised when they get subpoenas to testify. If it's in a civil case, chances are you've been notified by one party or the other, possibly even deposed, meaning you've already given testimony. And so it's not like you're going to wake up one morning and there's a guy at your door saying, hey, you got to testify today about something that happened 3 years ago. And no one's talked to you about it in the ensuing 3 years, but you got to be in court today, quick, slap on your Sunday best and show up in court and testify. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So generally speaking, you know what's going on and they want you to testify. You'll probably even know what they want you to testify about. So let me give you a very, very simple hypothetical. This is a hypothetical for which I'm making up the facts. Please don't argue with my facts because that kind of ruins the fun of a hypothetical. But you're standing outside of a bank. You're about to go into the bank to conduct some business. And somebody comes running out of the bank and they've got a bag that's got dollar signs on it. And they've got some kind of weapon in their other hand. And they're running out of the bank. And people go chasing after them going, we've been robbed. We've been robbed. And then the police show up. And you're just standing there and you saw the whole thing. And you recognize the person who ran out of the bank carrying the bag with the dollar signs on it and the thing in their hand. You saw it and you recognized the person. It's your next door neighbor. Guy wasn't wearing a mask. You've lived next to the guy for years. You recognized him. You were this close to his face. You saw him. In fact, as he went by, he said your name and said, hey, how you doing? And you said, hey, Bob, and he ran off. His name is Bob. Don't argue with his name is Bob, okay? The police show up, and they haven't caught the guy yet, and they look at you and they go, how long you been here? You go, 20 minutes. Okay, there was a bank robbery 15 minutes ago. Yeah, I know. I saw the guy go running by, people chasing after him going, there's been a bank robbery, we've been robbed. And they go, did you see the guy? Yes, I did. Can you tell us anything about what he looked like? Better. I know who he is. He's my next door neighbor. His name is Bob. How do you know that? I recognize the guy. I talk to him all the time. I know the guy. Bob. Didn't know he had financial trouble, but whatever. I'm going in there to make a deposit. They say, what's your name, address, phone number, all that information. They dispatch a car over to Bob's house and they arrest Bob. And you see in the paper the next day, because you still read the newspaper, as you're flipping through the newspaper, oh, hey, next door neighbor Bob arrested, bank robbery, broad daylight, seen by witness, who identified him. And of course, Bob's arrested, he's being held up bail, so you don't have to talk to him. And the police call you, perhaps, or maybe even just go straight to the prosecutor. Prosecutor calls you and says, hey, I understand you witnessed a bank robbery. Yeah, I did. And you saw the guy running out and you ID'd him. And it turns out now that other people likewise said he's the guy who robbed us. Because once they got the guy, they did a lineup and all the tellers, every single teller recognized him. Okay? But they want to call you as a witness. They want to call you as a witness. Now, the guy's your next door neighbor. You hate to get involved. So you're not quite sure. The prosecutor says, well, here's the deal. You ID'd the guy running out of the bank, and he was caught at his house where he still had the bag with a dollar sign on the side of it, and it was filled with cash. And they also found what he had in his hand. And when he got arrested, of course, he's busted. So they're going to call you to testify. So they send you a subpoena. It says you're commanded to appear on this date and time at this courthouse. And you show up. And here's the deal. I've had people, and the reason I'm doing this video is whenever comments are made on videos of mine, and I have over 1,000 videos up, the comments appear in one long timeline on one page that I have access to as a creator on YouTube. But because so many comments are going up at any given time, the page just goes by, and I don't spend much time on it because it's impossible to follow in real time. But I've noticed a bunch of comments recently where people are commenting on this old video of mine that went up several years ago. And the comments I've been seeing are things like, I believe I have the right to say no when asked if I'll tell the truth because I don't know what the truth is. What is truth? What is beauty? I've had people say, what's your truth might be different than my truth. I've also had people say, what are facts? What if I saw something wrong? What if I... You can testify as to what you perceived. So getting back to my situation, the hypothetical I gave you, they called you to testify. They say, what's your name? Where do you live? That's important, by the way. Where do you bank? And on a such and such date, what were you doing at 8:30 in the morning? Went to the bank. And before you got into the bank, did anything happen that seemed unusual? Yeah, a guy came running out of the bank carrying a bag of money. At least he had dollar signs on it. And he had a weapon in his hand. And as he ran out of the bank, he said, hi, to me, because he recognized me. And the tellers came running out going, we've been robbed, we've been robbed. And the person that came running out of the bank, do you recognize that person? Are they in the court today? I don't know. What is truth? What are facts? No, you recognize the guy's your next door neighbor. Do you recognize me? He's right there. He's been cleaned up a little bit. He's wearing a suit today for some weird reason. Normally he walks around his backyard naked. It's a callback to a different video I did. But no. Yeah, no, that's him. That's him. This isn't a trick question. You recognize the guy. You told the prosecutor you recognized the guy. When the cops asked you if you saw the guy, you said, yeah, I recognize him. He's my next door neighbor. This isn't that difficult. Now, I understand you might be loath to testify for fear that the guy might get mad at you, but then again, he might be going away for a while. And it's unfortunate because you may have to take some time off from work to go testify, and I know people who don't like to do that. But guess what? That's what happens. And I've had people say, but I just don't feel like testifying. So one way I'll do is I'll get out of it by saying, no, I won't tell the truth. You understand that the judge can warn you and say, I'm sorry, but you must tell the truth. Because when we ask you to raise your right hand and say, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, that's not a request like you phone into a disc jockey who might ignore it. The judge is telling you that you must do this. And if you say, no, I won't, the judge is going to say, I'm sorry. I think you may have misunderstood me because you don't have a choice. Unless you're taking the fifth, for instance, or there's a privilege, like they're wanting to testify against your spouse. Generally speaking, a simple fact witness standing on the street who sees something, who's brought in under subpoena properly, must testify and tell the truth. Now, I've had people say, but Steve, no one can tell if I'm telling the truth. Well, there are times where people get on the stand and commit perjury, which you should know is an actual crime for which you can be punished. But backing up, if you simply refuse to tell the truth, say, no, I will not tell the truth. I will not testify. The judge is going to lean over to you and say, just so you understand this, you'll be held in contempt of court if you refuse to testify, and you'll go to jail for that. So do you want to go to jail or do you want to testify? That's your choice. That's your choice. Now, I know people say, Steve, that is so unfair. I was just trying to go to the bank that day. Now I'm facing jail time. Well, I'm just the attorney here telling you how things go. And I've had so many people tell me, I would just do this. I would just refuse to testify. 34 years of practicing law. I've never, ever seen anyone get on the stand and say, I refuse to testify and tell the truth. Now, I've heard people refuse to testify, period. And there are some famous examples of that. And they made the news when somebody went to jail because they refused to testify. And there's some very, very famous examples. I don't want to get into those because some of them depends on how you feel about the case, whether or not the person was right in refusing to testify. But you can't simply get on the stand and go, no, I'm not going to testify. Now, I've had people say, but Steve, I got the out on this one. Because when they say, will you put your hand in the Bible and swear to tell the truth? I go, I'm an atheist. Oh, that Bible thing is, they did away with that in most places a long time ago. Most places don't use the Bible anymore. And if they do, you can request that they not use it. Because you can simply say, I'm sorry, but that Bible means nothing to me. Because I have a different religion, different philosophy, whatever you want it to call it. Okay? But the Bible is the old school way of doing it. And I've had people say, but Steve, I don't want to swear because my religion says I can't swear. Oh, I'm sure you caught it earlier when I said, do you swear or affirm? You can actually ask them to change the oath or affirmation that you're going to take. And so you want to get up there, you can say, I don't want to swear in the Bible. I don't want to swear. Now what, judge? Check and mate. The judge will say, no. Raise your right hand and say, I affirm to tell the truth. I've seen a judge say, I don't care if you promise to tell the truth. Do you promise to tell the truth? And by the way, this is all old school stuff that dates back hundreds of years, which explains why it's so kind of outdated and old-fashioned. But they've always kind of thought that if you get someone and they sit down and they're going to testify against somebody else, that they should be telling the truth and understand that there are ramifications if they don't. And so, does it really make a difference if someone raises their hand and promises to tell the truth versus they just get up there and testify? I don't know. But that's what they do. And they've been doing it for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It's not like the judge made this up yesterday. Okay? 100 years ago, they would have put the Bible under your hand and said, do you swear? And if you refuse to swear, you're going to jail. Now they say, do you just promise to tell the truth? Raise your hand. I had somebody say, and I know they're joking, what if I don't have arms? To which I said, there you go. That's the loophole. But guess what? The raising of the hand and the stating of the oath are both symbolic acts. And there's a lot of symbolic acts, things that have to do with the law going way, way back. And the oath taking before testimony is simply a symbolic act. So if you rolled up to the stand and you've got no limbs, no feet, no arms, and you're going to testify because you were sitting in your wheelchair as the guy went running out with the bags of money, dollar signs on them. You can't argue about the contents of the bag if there's a dollar sign on it, okay? The judge would look at you and go, do you promise to tell the truth? Yes, I do. Okay, that's good. Your Honor, he didn't raise a hand. He hasn't got one. No. So it's funny, and I know what's getting at people on this, is people are put off by the fact that they can get dragged into court against their will. They can be forced to testify in an uncomfortable situation. And hypothetically, they can go to jail if they choose not to cooperate. But let me ask you this, and answer this question honestly. You're not under oath. I can't see if you raise your hand or not. But let's suppose that you were the victim of a crime, okay? Let's suppose that you got robbed. You got robbed. You got violently robbed. A robber hurt you and stole your wallet, all your money. You just happen to have a lot of money on you that day. They stole your wallet. They stole your watch. Let's suppose you're wearing jewelry. They stole your jewelry. They stole all this valuable stuff from you. And then they took off. And there was one witness. And quite frankly, the person came up behind you. You didn't get a good look at him. But the police called you and said, good news. We caught the person who did it. They've got all your stuff, your wallet, your money, your cash, jewelry, everything. They got it all. They got it all. And we have a great witness. Because as the robber was running out of the alley where they had robbed you, they bumped into somebody who was their next door neighbor who said, hey, Bob, because this guy's name is Bob too. Bob, I recognize you. How you doing? And Bob said, good, I'll see you later. And ran off just as you stumbled out of the alley going, I've been robbed. I've been robbed. And the witness realizes that Bob's the one who robbed you. Cops show up. Cops talk to the witness. Cops go to Bob's house. They find all your stuff. And now you're the victim. And you want to press charges against Bob because he robbed you and took all your stuff and injured you. He put you in the hospital. It's my hypothetical. I can make it up, right? Put you in the hospital. You still get headaches from being hit in the head. Okay? So, the day of the trial, you're sitting out in the hallway, and the witness walks up to you and goes, hey, I understand that you got robbed, but you got your stuff back. And Bob's my next door neighbor. I just don't feel like testifying against him. I just don't want to do it. He's my neighbor. Quite frankly, he's a decent guy. And I'm starting to wonder, maybe you did something. I don't know, but I don't want to get involved. Why are you here? Well, I got served with a subpoena says you're commanded to appear. You're ordered to appear. I'm here, but I'm going to go tell the prosecutor I don't want to testify. Now, here's the thing. You told the cops that you didn't actually see the guy's face. That, well, because it was dark out, but it was the other person who recognized him. You want that person to testify. Do you know what happens if everyone just chooses not to testify in court because they don't feel like it? The legal system falls apart. And it's similar, and I hate to make this analogy because it's different, but I see the parallel. I know people who get served with jury notices who go, I've been asked to serve on a jury, and I don't want to do it. I can't afford it, whatever. And I always tell people, I say, you know something? The vast majority of my clients, I'm talking about 95 to 98% of my clients have never filed a lawsuit before they met me. But they're forced to, and they bought a defective car. So we file a lawsuit, we file a jury demand, and we're taking on a big corporation over a defective car. We'd like to have a jury hear that case, if it goes that far. But guess what happens if not enough jurors show up? And I've had it happen once in my career. I've heard of it happening other times, but I had it happen once. And showed up at a district court in Michigan, and sadly, it was near the holidays. Walked into court with a trial date certain. My witnesses were there. My clients were there. I had banker's boxes filled with documents and exhibits in triplicate, just like Alice's Restaurant, ready to go. And the court clerk walks out and goes, just to let you know, no trial today. We don't have enough jurors. So we had to leave and come back a few months later. And now eventually jurors showed up. And I'll tell you right now, I've heard from people who've been called for jury duty an egregious number of times. I know people who've served on 4 or 5 juries. And yet I'm sitting here talking to you. I've been practicing law for 34 years. And I became a lawyer late. And in my entire life, I've been served jury notices, I believe, 4 times where they say, you are on call in some way, shape, or form where you may have to serve on a jury. Call us the night before, call us the week before, whatever it is. And I got excused 3 times. And one time I had to go in and sit in a big room, and they told us, there's so many of you here, there's so many jury trials set to start today, and you might have to be here all week, you might have to be here today, you might not even get called. And 1 hour in or so, I got called. Had to go across, had to sit down, went through voir dire, and I got excused. But I was there. And would it have been convenient for me to attend to that trial? It was because the trial that I got voir dired on, they said might take 2 weeks. I was not looking forward to that. But I also thought to myself, look at all the times I've asked jurors to show up. And so I would have shown up. I wouldn't have grumbled about it. But I'd be there, But getting back to, can you say no when asked to tell the truth in court? The answer is no, you can't. You can say, Steve, but I can if I want to, right? Well, of course, you can do something, but the question is what happens if you say no? And if you say no, I simply refuse to tell the truth, you're going to jail for contempt of court. That's all. And again, don't blame me. That's the way it is, and that's the way it's been for hundreds of years. And ask yourself what would happen if all witnesses just simply chose to just not testify, not tell the truth. All bets are off. The legal system falls apart. So there you go. But like I said, that video, it's approaching 1 million views for some odd reason. It's been racking up more views lately. So there you go. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.